Gasbender Podcast is associated with Avatar: The Legend of Korra Online.com and ComicRelated.com.
Hello everybody, welcome to Gasbender Podcast, episode 66 for March 10th, 2014. This is your number one Last Airbender and Korra related podcast. You're here with your co-host AJ Lewis.
Hi there.
Tegan Chevrier.
Hey.
And Tyrell Listen. So yeah, we're back with another podcast. One day early this week because we're going to be covering Nick Upfront on the Friday, and we're going to be doing 2 episodes this week, depending, of course, if there's any information at Upfront.
You know, probably not. So welcome to the only episode of the week.
If you're lucky. But all laughter aside, we're going to be covering The Rift Part 1 by Gene Yang. We have a very soft spot for Mr. Yang. He's going to be coming on the podcast in June. I contacted him through his email, and he graciously stated that he will be coming on the show June. He's busy, so he couldn't come on in May, but June would be the better date for him in preparation for the release of The Rift Part 2. Or is it
July?
Which is still
2nd, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. So it's going to be a fantastic time for everything to kind of happen, because then we can ask him about that, and we'll be having Kevel from Avatar: The Legend of Korra Online.com on the show there to do the interview with us, and it should be probably the biggest interview that we have ever that we've had thus far.
Anything with like presidents or anything, just forget about them.
Yes,
this is it. This is the thing you want to be here for.
Mr. Gene.
The kids, when you have kids, they're going to ask you like, "Where were you when Gasbender had the interview with Gene Yang?" Like, boom. I was listening to it.
Yep, exactly. So,
and then they'll love you, and then buy you candy on Father's Day.
Oh God!
I never.
I think,
May.
yeah.
Okay.
No, May's Mother's Day.
May's Mother's Day. Yes, we're going to be having him on the show, and it will be great. We can't confirm any other interviews because we haven't confirmed anything yet. I talked about the Gene one, even though we never confirmed that, and then it happened. We were lucky that he actually responded, so that was great. But other than that, we have some other news. We just wanted to get that out there because it was pretty good for Gasbender. Kevel posted an article earlier this week, and it's been going around that Book 3 is coming soon, and Book 4 is in pre-production. Yesterday, Brian used Tumblr to update everybody on Book 3 and update people on Book 4 as well. So Brian posted that he wanted people to know that Book 3 is coming very soon, and then he went on to say that the crew had the final Korra anime, or like animated meeting for the Book 4 stuff. So what happened was they pretty much released all the pre-production team from their duties. So that doesn't mean they fired them or Nick did anything. Their duty is done, so they have left.
Duty.
Some people have gotten like, oh my god, Nick's, doing this. No, their work is done, and this is good because that means none of this work is done for like, you're contracted to do something, and then once you do it, you're done, and you find a new job. So don't worry about them; they're fine. So,
do you want to go over what pre-production is? It's like storyboarding, plot and writing and all that stuff.
it's the framework of what the season's going to be, the 4th and final season.
There's still animation, redubbing, post-production, color correction, all that stuff.
Sound.
It's going to be over a year until we see it.
Yeah, from now. This is a good thing though. They seem to be doing everything on a good schedule compared to between Book 1 and 2, where they kind of were behind.
Yeah,
so this time,
one studio helps.
Yeah, this time I think you could probably see Book 2 or Book 4 as early as 6 months after the finale, but probably a year, depending. It really all depends on when they want to release it for ratings and like different cons and stuff like that and hype, but Nick doesn't seem to be into the whole hyping up and marketing Korra, so I probably would hazard a guess is they'll just pick a date 6 months to a year after the finale. And so by book 3 coming soon, a lot of people are saying the earliest we could see it is the last week of April. A lot of people are saying May. Some people are saying June. And I think it's fair to say that's probably coming out in the next 2 months. That's what I'd say. I would put my money on 2 months. I originally said April, so...
I don't know. I'm still hesitant towards any time soon.
Yeah. Tangan.
Just because, I've been burned too much with Nick.
Yep.
I mean, I think it could be somewhat soon just because we're hearing a lot, but it's hard to tell. I still stand by my summer guess, even though y'all told me that was stupid.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about summer. I'm still going with spring, and I think that would be effective because then it would wrap up in June, at the end of June, right before summer, so the kids don't... The kids are out doing their own thing. I know a lot of kids watch TV during the summer. I agree with that, but I think that they don't want to go for that summer market for the show.
As we've explained before, there's 2 main times for television, especially child's television. That is a fall premiere date and a spring premiere date. And Nick's going to really push it, the spring premiere date, if they go late April. So I still think like September when the kids go back to school.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And then we have some other news. We're going to be having a guest on next week. We just confirmed it. He does the podcast. I believe it's Avatar Online podcast. He seems to be... Yeah, it's Morgan. Morgan seems to be one of the smarter members that I've talked to when it comes to Avatar and Legend of Korra, or him and his opinions around stuff. He seems to be fairly smart, so we're going to have him on the show. And he's also the head moderator at Avatar The Last Airbender Online.com, and he has a podcast as well, and we're going to be having him. He's from Ireland, so that'll be cool. I wonder if he has an accent. I've never heard him speak. I'm going to go check out some of his podcasts just to get a little rep, and then we'll do a little bit of an interview with him, and then we'll just have him on as a guest host as we talk about Avatar and Korra. And on top of that, remember, a lot of people seem to be listening through YouTube. If you want to subscribe, like, and comment on this video, that helps us a lot and tells us that you're viewing and everything, and that seems to be where a lot of people are, so that's kind of cool. And all those that listen through audio, we still love you.
Only not as much.
Only not as much.
You don't get to see that cool graphic we put at the end of the thing.
Yeah, exactly. So, the Rift. Gene came back, and he's been doing all the comics, and there's been many a debate recently about comics and stuff like that, and where you can purchase it and everything. According to Kevin, who works for Avatar, the Legend of Korra Online.com, who also does all the graphic work and everything, he says that through Amazon, you can buy it internationally. So for everybody who's saying it's not available in your country, that's wrong. You can go to Amazon.com, and you can go to Dark Horse Comics or whatever, and then you can find the Rip Part 1. It's $11. And that seems to be a fairly good price for a fully colored comic that's over 20 pages long. That is probably a lot better than most of the novels and books out there. On top is, if it's I understand that some people can't afford it, but put it into perspective. If you really want the comic, it's $11. If that means going without a coffee every morning for a week, then that probably would work. Because here, I know a coffee at Tim Hortons is $2. And Canada seems to be one of the more expensive sides of the restaurant business. So $2 for a coffee for 7 days, there's your $11 right there to buy the comic. I'm assuming, like all the other comics, AJ, that they'll probably come out online at some point. You can buy them through like your Kindle bookstore and stuff like they've done the other ones.
It's quite possible.
And then the hardcover edition will probably come out at some point as well. And then they'll probably do what they do with comics and put them all into one.
Yeah.
So you can wait for that. I'm just saying this because we discourage illegally downloading the comic. This has been a heated topic within the community, and we just want to go over the options for you to download the comic or buy the comic for a price, because not that it's cheating out not that it's cheating out Nickelodeon, but the people who work on the comic and draw it and color it and write it, they need the money. And after, I saw this really good comment, after Korra's done, the comics will be going on, and if nobody pays for the comics, there'll be no more. So if you want any Avatar content at all, then you probably should think about picking up the content. So the Rift Part 1 is the first installment of the Rift trilogy, and it was released on March 5th, 2014. And it's going to be coming to regular stores on March 18th, depending on your country. So, just an overview. Aang and his friends help him celebrate Yangchen Festival, an extremely sacred air nomad holiday that has not been held in over hundreds of years. However, visits from the spirit of Avatar Yangchen herself lead Aang to discover a jointly owned Fire and Earth Kingdom refinery that is operating on and polluting on land that was sacred to his people. And that is essentially the overview of this comic. And the story was by Gene Yang, Mike and Brian, of course. And what do you think? What do you think of the cover, AJ?
The cover. We're going back to the cover, eh?
Yeah, the cover.
All right. The cover is nicely done. It shows our four protagonists, Toph, Aang, Katara, and Sokka in order of how they appear.
Yeah. You got Yangchen in the back there.
Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
It's the statue.
I think it is.
That people just know whatever. They say they don't know who the statue is in the comic somewhere, but...
Yeah. You see the characters looking a little bit older this time. I can especially see it in Katara and Aang's face.
And Toph looks like we haven't seen Toph in a whole comic, so she looks much taller.
Yeah, so as you can tell, they've aged quite a bit. We hazard a guess it's between probably 5 years from...
Possibly 5 years.
Yeah.
But we start off right when Yudao gets their parliament all settled up.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go back and just talk about how I'm giving a nod to the president and publisher, Mike Richardson, the collection designer, Justin Cooch, assistant editors, Ian Tucker and Aaron Walker, and editor, David Marshall. And a special thanks to the comic to Linda Lee, Kat Van Dam, James Salarno, Joan Hilty, and Nickelodeon Brian and Mike, and Cassie Anderson. So just a nice little nod there. So yeah, back to what AJ was saying, Yudao establishing their parliament. And again, I want to go over the coloring and everything. First of all, it looks pretty damn good, I'd say. Everything seems spot on.
The only thing I have to complain about is I don't like how they made Iroh look. He looks different in the face.
Yeah, he does. But I think all the characters look different, honestly. I don't
know, but Iroh shouldn't change that much. He's an old person.
Yeah, but again...
He's got an old face.
Again, the person animating these comics or drawing these comics are different than the people who... So I think it's fair enough to say that there's probably some variation. But yeah, Iroh does look a little bit different, but that's just a minor thing. But everything else, the detail is pretty good.
Yeah,
and
everything looks really good.
Sokka's dark, I think. He's very dark. He's darker than Katara. So, so we'll just go over. We're not going to do panel by panel because that is kind of tedious. We're just going to kind of do the synopsis of everything and talk about some things that we liked and did not like. Those are going to be like Yangchen, Toph's character in this, other stuff. AJ's got a theory. So,
AJ's got a couple theories.
Yeah. So, Iroh has been the Fire Lord for a while.
Yes, interim Fire Lord.
Yeah, well, Zuko was unable to attend because he's supporting Ursa and her family.
Yes, so we pick up just about right up after the search happens. For those of you who didn't read the search, we found Zuko's mother, Ursa, and now she's back in the Fire Nation with what's-his-face? Ekum, I think his name is.
Ekum.
Yes, Ekum Bokum, yes. Anyway, Zuko brings Ursa and Ekum, as well as the other, I think they have a daughter now, or whatever, I can't remember.
So that means technically he has a stepsister, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And, as you remember, Azula kind of took off afterwards. It was all fun and whatnot, but now we're moving on. And I don't think we're going to see much of Zuko in this comic.
I have a question.
All right, what is your
We
question?
can discuss this. So if Zuko has a stepsister,
Yes.
it's possible that we could see the stepsister in The Legend of Korra. Because, you know, we're caught up on all this Zuko stuff and seeing Zuko. This comic could be conveniently placed there so they could kind of explain a new narrative in Legend of Korra. What do you think? Stepsister?
So conveniently placed.
It's conveniently placed. What do you think, Tegan?
It's definitely a possibility.
I think anything's a possibility at
Yeah.
this point, really.
At this point, everything is speculation,
Yeah.
Yes.
as always with
People.
the show.
Oh yeah, I forgot my normal disclaimer before because people seem to forget. We address every speculation, every theory, whether it's far-fetched or almost 100% probable. That does not mean we believe every single theory. Specifically, the one about them, the villains. People think that we seem to think that all the villains are going to be separate subplots. We never actually said that. But, you know, just a disclaimer. If we talk about a theory here, that does not mean that we necessarily fully 100% support it. So that's the disclaimer.
All right. Now that we've fully degraded everyone,
Yep.
let's. The girl's name is Kiyi, Kiyi.
Key. Yep.
That's what the girl's name is. But she's completely out of the royal line. There's no
line. No
there's
line there.
no available way for her to become.
Yeah, because
involved
wouldn't
in
General
the
Iroh
royal
wouldn't General Iroh probably be
Yeah.
somewhere?
Zuko has a wife at some point.
Yeah.
Whatever. And they have a daughter who's acting Fire Lord now in present time Korra, and she has the son who is General Iroh, or something like that.
Yeah.
Cousin, uncle, aunt.
Regardless, Key's not involved.
Yes, she's way out of it.
Okay,
She's
so
probably dead.
let's continue on. So you get to see Iroh, which is always a fun little touch, and you know, now you have a short time later, Kori's Kori appears
The girl.
and announces the new government comprised of 4 people. So you have two.
She's the girl from the first comic book series, The Promise. She was the one who attacked Zuko.
Yeah.
It's like, don't tear apart my family.
Yeah, so she announces that there's going to be 2 Earth Kingdom and 2 Fire Nation representatives. Toph voices her doubts about the workability of the system, though Aang assures her that the colony will make work as it is an example for others to follow. So you seem to already have this kind of discourse.
And we're going to discourse now, eh?
Yeah.
Pulling that COM 1F90 skills.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
So Toph seems to already start being a mega party pooper in this comic already. I will display my feelings for Toph later on. It's hard because Toph's a lot of people's favorite character.
Spoiler alert, he doesn't like Toph
No.
in this book.
No, yeah, I don't like Toph in this book, but I understand it.
Yeah. Well, can I just say that I
No,
don't
you can't.
really. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. I don't really understand because she's saying that she doesn't approve of, I don't know, the people because it's Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom working together. Which I understand because it's like anxieties with moving forward and blah blah blah. But then later in the comic, she seems to be the most progressive and the most looking into the future and working together. So I don't understand because it's
Yeah, Toph flip-flops a little bit.
2 conflicting ideologies. I don't get it.
Yeah, pulling in ideologies too.
Okay, okay.
Jeez, we are just COM 1F90ing this thing up.
This is more than just calm.
We are analyzing this piece of media.
Okay, so, yeah, Toph seems to change your mind, but she's like, the one thing it makes, I think it's bad because, okay, let me just display this. Toph is represented as a character that's, you know, no nonsense, stubborn, all this stuff. And then she falls head over heels and forgets everything with this guy later on in the comic. I think it displays how weak of a character Toph, it kind of like, it shows Toph as a weak character when during other parts of the series
All
is
right.
displayed as a strong character.
Let us continue on with this story, and we will cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay, sass pants. So following the announcement, the gathered crowd moves inside of the banquet. So you have your typical banquet, and then
As you do, you just have a banquet because you're in front of the Avatar.
yeah, because the Avatar requires a banquet every single time.
Also, I will point out, there are 5 chairs up at the top of the banquet hall there's supposed to be 5 representatives, right? Or 4 representatives?
Yeah. Maybe
5 chairs. I don't know if that's an error or if, what?
I think you're reading too much into it. Maybe one's for the Avatar.
Yeah.
But they're all sitting at, this little table thing.
Well, maybe somebody's the mayor of the city.
Maybe someone's the mayor. Maybe.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Sokka attempts to convince the vegetarian air acolytes to eat some turtle duck. Yes, turtle duck.
I think this might be the first mention of, an actual, double-breeded animal being eaten by people.
Yeah. And Katara asks...
references meat before.
Yeah. And then Katara asked Toph how her metal bending school is going. And... Yeah, because remember, Toph is leading up a metal bending school.
It's the debate on metal bending school.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. And... She explains that there have been so many new students she had to resort to building earth tents for them to sleep in. There seems to be a lot of people, and this is good because I personally like metal bending school. I think you don't really see anything else but metal bending in Korra, but it seems that metal bending has kind of become the new norm for earthbenders for the most part, especially in Korra, because everybody that you see that's an earthbender is pretty much bending metal except for Bo Lin.
Yeah. Surprise.
Surprise, surprise. I saw this funny thing. It's like, who do you think? Do you think Jinora can beat Mako in a battle? And I put probably. And I got a bunch of favorites on that tweet. It's actually the sad truth, though.
Well, as we've stated before, we do not know the limits of Jinora's ability with her magic glowy powers.
She could honestly probably overturn everybody with that.
She is a new avatar.
She's a new avatar, yeah. So you have that, and then Sokka proceeds to do all his antics. So
his antics.
Sokka's still up to no good.
He's up to no good.
He's up to no good.
He's trying to make vegetarians eat meat.
Yeah. See, I personally agree with him, but
let's not frown upon people's life choices.
No,
except the bacon is delicious.
You must eat the turtle duck.
I'd just be fine with bacon.
The turtle duck, and then I don't know. I'm caught up by the the drawing. I think it's fantastic, and that's what really does it. A lot of people saying this is their favorite comic, and we'll talk about where this ranks upon our favorite comics at the end. But I think it's pretty damn good. So then you see Yangchen. So Aang's kind of walking through this crowd and everything, and Yangchen, or whatever. There's a spirit, and it says nothing.
There's this. Originally, we see a woman or someone dressed in an orange and yellow cloak, which is traditionally what airbenders wore, and Aang thinks it's an air acolyte, but he chases this person, and it turns out to be Yangchen's spirit, and she's pointing out to the forest, but she can't speak. Yeah,
and then she disappears before he can establish,
because Aang is kind of punches through her. Accidentally, of course.
Yeah. So, Tag, do you want to kind of talk about it?
Yeah.
So, then later on, maybe talk about the balcony scene.
Okay, so Katara is wondering where Aang is. She goes and finds him out there, and he's meditating with some beads.
Yeah, he's got his
traditional airbender beads.
Yeah, because he's frustrated that he can't get back into contact with the spirit again.
It's because he sucks.
Well, yes. And
it's actually foreshadowing to how Tenzin can't get to the spirit world.
Yes, it's a metaphor for male impotence.
Okay.
So then she invites him back into the celebration, and he's reminded of an old air nomad celebration, and he returns back to the banquet to
celebrate, I guess.
Yeah, and to tell people that they're going on a field trip the next day.
Because the air acolytes are there. They're the posse. The air acolytes are a group of people, if you're not aware, that was formed as a sort of a fan club, and then at first Aang was hesitant, but then he embraced it, and those people are learning the culture of airbending to preserve it, and he's got a bunch of them with him, and they're going to go on a field trip the next day.
Quite, yes, indeed.
So they then start flying on Appa the next day, so we got Appa back, the great and large...
six-legged flying bison with a beaver tail.
Named Appa. Yip yip.
Also an arrow on his head.
Yeah, also an
In
arrow.
case you've never seen Appa before.
I just every time I want to go somewhere fast now, I just say yip yip. I'm like yip yip. So probably people in public are quite disgruntled when
I
I
used
say
to tell
yip.
my dog to move, but I'd say yip yip. And, like,
Oh
with the
my
leash.
goodness.
You take the whip and just
No, I'd shake the leash.
you shake the leash. Abuse, animal abuse.
Yes, here in Canada we abuse dogs.
Yeah, we're savages.
Instead of mush, we now use yip yip
Yeah, yip yip.
to travel on our piles of snow with our huskies and our polar bears.
Mm-hmm. Aang explains that they're traveling to the sacred air nomad site, where they are set to bow and salute and enjoy a meal on a meadow in order to participate in the Yangchen festival. So the Yangchen festival hasn't taken place in a long time.
Yes, ever since the air nomads got their asses handed to them.
Yeah. So despite having been recognized in the past as one of the nation's most symbolic holidays, it kind of after the air nomad genocide, it didn't really have any effect because, of course, there were no airbenders. And like anything, most cultures that aren't airbenders probably don't fully support the holiday or know what it is. So therefore, they wouldn't do it. So we don't have it.
Such as indefinitely. So
Aang's kind of trying to restore this and teach the Air Acolytes about this, and that's kind of one of the main stories of this comic. So upon arrival, though, people other than the Air Acolytes and Aang and Katara, so Toph and Sokka.
Yes, we have like the protagonists and then these 3 Air Acolytes. One's named Jingbo, Jingbo.
Jingbo.
Then I really don't want to. I think it's Yin Yang, but it's Xingyin.
Yeah.
Yin Yang.
What? I'm not sure what the other one's name is.
Honestly, that's my one problem. I feel so bad I can never pronounce the names of.
Yeah.
We'll ask G when he comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is with these names here, bro?
Can you walk us through every single name? But yeah, you have these people, but Sokka and Toph are kind of indifferent to this.
Yeah.
Why Sokka wonders who the lady is that they're bowing to.
There's a big giant stone statue.
Yeah.
It's not Yangchen, it's some other.
It's expected to be Yangchen, though the statue did not have it didn't sport arrow tattoos, but it seems to have like this headdress on, so maybe we can't see them. And then Sokka is asked why they're bowing to an unknown person, and then Aang replies, that is just how it's done, which sends Toph into some traumatizing flashbacks of her life.
I agree. Yes, very much so. We have that like signature like brown filter on top of the comic.
The sepia.
Yeah, whatever. And it makes it all dirty.
And it basically that line that Aang says is just constantly repeated to her by different members of.
Oh no, it's always her father.
Is it always her father? Okay, yeah.
Toph's like, why can't I have friends? Because that's just how it is. And why can't I go outside? Because that's just how it is.
And that's
just how it's done.
Yeah. And after that flashback, you get some general kind of dismay from Sokka and Toph about, worshipping this unknown statue. Toph outright just says, no, I don't really want to do this. And though Sokka doesn't really care, he's just more concerned about his stomach. It kind of attests to 2 things that Tegan was suggesting before recording, and those, you want to go over those, Tegan?
Yeah, well, the first theme we seem to see in the comic is sort of not wanting to go through with something unless you have a good reason. And Toph, as you just said, finds this really important because her entire life, it seems, she's never really been given a reason. She's just sort of been commanded to do things.
Right.
And so she doesn't want to worship the statue without a good reason. Where on the other hand, I think it's Katara who says, well, this is important to Aang, so you should put aside your personal stuff just to, support Aang and his worshiping.
And those are the 2 big kind of themes of this, and you see it all the time. It's a common theme in literature and the real world or everything, and it revolves around not knowing something, the unknown, and when you sometimes blindly, sometimes not follow something that's not completely 100%, which pretty much is anything, because nothing is really 100%. You're going to get some people that don't necessarily agree, and Aang seems to, worship this statue and this holiday, and though he doesn't really know why, it's just part of his tradition, and people don't understand that. And then the second big one too is anxieties towards different things and being told what to do and the oppression of that. And I think that's really what encompasses the Rift Part 1. And it's kind of cool. I like this. I've always wanted to see more airbending stuff, and we're finally seeing it. AJ?
Yes, we are seeing it, aren't we?
Yes, we're seeing it very much so.
Do you want me to continue on with the story?
Yeah, you can continue on with the story.
So we continue on with the Avatar Yangchen festivities. We walk down a hill making music, which makes Toph angry because she's blind and she hears through sound and whatnot. And the one air acolyte has these like cymbals and she's banging. She clang.
That would be
clang,
slightly
clang.
annoying.
And she's standing right beside them. And since they are made of metal, Toph kind of like crunches them with her metal bending, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And Toph's like, I'm totally done with these rituals. I'm going to piss off somewhere. But then they see that the meadow, that was once this beautiful meadow where Aang would fly kites with airbending.
And Gyatso is there.
Gyatso. It was turned into this factory place.
Refinery.
This factory town.
Yeah, and this is just a little bit of trivia for everybody. There's the writing. I'm not sure which dialect it is in, but it's Japanese, Chinese, something like that. Sorry for my ignorance to that. It literally means fire or dirt fire or fire dirt refinery. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, we're given a setting of the earthen fire refinery, and this is completely life-changing for Aang here.
It alters his life so
much.
Because he's never mentioned this thing before. We get a real feel for why he's so devastated.
Yep.
Because we connect with this like 3 slides of flashback.
Exactly.
We're like, man, my hometown was destroyed as a child. I feel for this guy because I have a factory where my town is now. Like that is just.
It's happened to AJ personally on many occasions.
Every town I've lived in is now a factory.
Yeah, it's actually probably the opposite.
I didn't do it, but it's just it follows me.
So Aang takes the group to the fenced-off area from which this
hold on,
pungent odor.
We have skipped.
What did we skip?
A very key factor of 2 new characters entering the. We have 2 new fighters into this brawl per se. We have 2 waterbenders.
Nayok.
Yes, who have moved to this earthbender colony town to work in this factory.
In Nutha.
Yes, and they both seem to know Katara.
Yeah.
And the guy of the group gives her a death stare. She's like, I'm going to kill you. Or like, why are you here? I hate you.
But you see, people have left the Southern Water Tribe, a while ago, into seeking out new lives, or maybe, that's kind of like or trying to find the American dream type style, leaving your hometown for bigger and better things. In this case, a factory.
Even in the Avatar world, it's overpowered by America. Go figure.
We love you. Not really.
No, really. Send us money.
Send us money, please.
And, food. Food is good, too.
Yeah, we're poor and starving. So Aang takes this group to the kind of fenced-off area, and there's, this pungent odor arising from the smelliness of the refinery, and he uses earthbending to get everyone over the fence, reassuring Yili that, who is an air acolyte, that they're doing it since, the fence is not supposed to be there, and it's not supposed to be opposing them.
Also, at this point, I'd like to point out that, did I call him Bojo or Jimbo or...
Jimbo, something like that.
Bob Jim?
The guy with the glasses, right?
Jingbo.
Jingbo.
Jingoobo. Jingbo is, at this point, mostly just a comic relief character. Most of the air acolytes are just there for,
comic relief.
Giggles.
Yeah. So, then this kind of... Them hopping over the fence is obviously against the rules, and then they're cornered by earth-bending guards who attempt to expel them from trespassing.
Because, I have many complaints about this here. Firstly,
Here we go.
They are in the Earth Kingdom colonies, which have been the center for the 100-Year War.
Yeah.
For, most of the 100 years. It has been occupied by the Fire Nation. They've been recently released from Fire Nation control. We have Avatar Aang to thank for that, and we have this one god dang ignorant guard with a stupid mustache and goatee.
Taking offense to his mustache.
Whatever, stupid mustache.
Stupid mustache man.
His name is now Stupid Mustache Man.
Okay.
And he's like, "Who do you think you are?" And like, "I'm the Avatar." It's like, "Bull crap, you're the Avatar." And then they proceed to get their asses kicked by the Avatar.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's a big fight and stuff. Yeah. Katara uses water and yeah.
Blocking the earth projectiles. Aang's airbending. So it's a big battle situation. And then they basically destroy the guards.
Yeah.
There's 4 of them, and they all seem to fall down because Aang he's so good at everything.
This is another kind of point where it's like, you don't know the Avatar, you're just going to get served, okay? Yeah. And he did. And then they're approached by...
Aang should have taken his bending away, just been like...
That's so cruel. Satoru, who happens to be a young man who is very attractive to a certain individual.
Oh. Okay.
Yes, his name is Tyrell.
No, his name's AJ Lewis. And no, he's very pleased to meet Aang and Katara, stating that the Avatar is even more impressive in person. So, we're going to quickly go over this point. Satoru runs through, what the refinery is and where it's been, and talks about why it was built there. And Sokka and Toph return at that moment. However, the engineer is left starstruck by the blind earthbender.
Okay, one second.
Yeah.
How the heck did they get in there?
Into the refinery?
Yeah, like they just kind of walked in.
Yep. I'm not sure, but for the sake of the story, AJ.
There's an open door there. Why didn't they just go through the open door? Why
you
did
have
they
to do
the fence?
You have to do things the hard way, okay? Praising, and then he praises her by saying he saved the world and invented metal bending, and then he offers to give her a tour. This is Satoru, by the way, of the refinery, and the rest of the group is allowed to take along on Toph's inquiry. So now Toph has become the center of attention, where Aang is typically the one that's the center of attention. This time it's Toph, and they have to follow her because she's kind of in love with this guy and is all for it.
Also, just another little thing about the animation. She looks at him like
Derpy. I found the uncle's name, by the way.
What's the uncle's name?
Loban.
Oh my good God.
Okay, Loban, Uncle Loban. So Satoru explains that his uncle Loban has discovered the area to be rich with natural resources and due to the political impact of the 100-Year War, and that's why it's important. However, Loban, a Fire Nation citizen, couldn't actually do anything until he had an Earth Kingdom business partner to exploit the land.
And we're not going to spoil it, because at the end of it, it's like this big reveal.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't read the comic already, then what are you doing?
Yeah, I tried to stay away from spoilers on the Twitter. If you're listening to this episode...
We should have put that at the start. Do that in post, just write the spoilers.
Yeah, okay, I will. And then, so we'll continue. So, Tegan, do you want to go from here?
They're all shown a big room with a bunch of machinery and benders sort of working together.
This is new. This is very new.
Yes, yeah. And he explains there are jobs for everyone, and you see firebenders heating giant furnaces, and earth and water benders, they are separating and purifying rocks and gems.
So let's talk about this. This is the first kind of I think this is probably the first time they've seen industrialization.
Yeah.
This is kind of on the brink of the industrial era for the Avatar world, and this is fascinating. Much like the real world, it provides jobs for a lot of people.
Yes.
And that's good for the economy and everything in the Earth Kingdom as a whole. So, though this seems to be quite, select in terms of what it is, I'm pretty sure this might be this might be what we see more of the Earth Kingdom if we see it in Book 3. I think you might see a lot of factories, a lot of refineries.
We do have to remember that this is part of the Earth Kingdom colonies, which is now part of Republic
City.
The Republic Nation, whatever.
But I think it'd probably extend because the Earth Kingdom's so large and they probably have tons of resources because they're the biggest continent. So I think a lot of it's going to be exploited. Probably Varric industry, Varric owns a lot through his industries. And then a bunch of other business people are doing that. But I think this kind of shows, I like how the comics kind of hint at certain things and kind of aid as a crutch to some of the Legend of Korra and Avatar things that weren't explained. I really like that. So the tour continues as they walk back outside, and Sokka discovers a forklift and drives around, while Satoru discloses the refinery expansion plans.
Also, fossil fuels
Fossil fuels, everywhere.
apparently are a thing now.
Yeah.
It just kind of happened. Also, internal combustion engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Aang and Katara aren't really feeling the whole factory scene.
No.
They're not a fan, specifically of the one that didn't really have benders. It was all automated.
Yeah, and I honestly don't sympathize with them here because it's like you're trying to provide jobs for everybody. The benders aren't the only ones. Maybe that's an equalist thing to say, but like everybody needs a job, and I'd probably hazard a guess to say there are more normal people in the world than there are benders. So they need jobs too, and this seems to be an effective way to do it. So
see, I could see why it's tough for Aang because frozen in an iceberg for 100 years. It's obviously going to be hard to grasp.
You have to understand. He's from a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's also that fact that this was a sacred piece of land.
Yeah, he's trying really hard to get back to the life that he missed by being frozen and sort of grasping on to the past.
I think, though, at the same time, he's handling it fairly well, like most people would. But as Aang is the Avatar and Airbender, you have to kind of put everything into perspective.
Yes.
So, Satoru apologizes to the group and tells everyone that he'll have to ask someone to continue the tour
because Sokka was a big dumb idiot and crashed the forklift.
Toph brushes him off and uses her metal bending to fix the dislocated gear in seconds. So Satoru is like, "Oh, this is great," praises her ability, and after
and then they go into the back room and have kissy sexy time.
Yes, probably. So meanwhile, Aang notices Yangchen spear again and a sudden vision of a monstrous creature destroying the settlement. So that creature, it's a purple kind of panel with this like beast type thing.
It looks like it's made of rock.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's no real explanation for it other than it's just that vision.
It's just the thing that happened.
Yeah.
As happens in these first parts of the comic book, we get unexplained visions.
Yeah, and then the apparition disappears. However, Aang wonders whether the vision was the past or the future. Regardless, the image of the monster has strengthened his determination to talk to Satoru. So basically, out this vision, they've really wanted to... Aang now solidified his idea that he wants to talk to Satoru about how this is wrong and how he feels about it.
Yes, he wants to stop this refinery from being here. He wants to remove it and make it back to sacred land of sorts.
And then he approaches Satoru about what he feels about the refinery.
Yeah, and before he can even react, Toph interjects and tells Aang that since the area was abandoned for 100 years, Satoru and his uncle, it was sort of their right to build on the area and make it useful again. And Aang tries to explain that he was getting these warnings, and he believes that something bad's going to happen. And when he fails to pinpoint the alleged threat, Toph brushes off his concerns with skepticism.
Yeah, and you see, this is tough. It's going to be a constant debate because you have this whole land issue, and you have this like destroying of areas, and this is a very big real world problem because as people want to build on stuff that's considered sacred to many people, you always have that problem. You have strikes and people kind of being like, "This is my sacred land."
Yeah,
and
just around our area, we have the native reserves.
Yeah,
and it's just always being
Caledonia.
Yeah,
always.
For those of you who do not know about, the vast majority of that area of Ontario is a native reserve, and it was given to them as
the indigenous people. Like that's their
it's
their right.
Supposed to be the whole place is theirs, but we kind of took it.
Right. And there's constant wars with developers wanting to build and them fighting back, and this is kind of what you're seeing in these comics. And so Katara backs Aang up, obviously, but everybody's kind of not really concerned with it. And Satoru acknowledges the state of the water because there's like this sludgy water and polluted river, and the refinery was not the cause for it. But no one believes him until Toph puts her hand on the chest and asks him to repeat to himself using the seismic sense. So she chooses to do like a lie detector test.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
but at this point, it's like is she telling the truth? Is she
Yeah.
lying because she kind of wants to sleep with him?
Yeah.
When Toph claims that Satoru is telling the truth, she's pulled aside by Aang. He kind of just like throttles her.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I've never seen Aang use that much physical force.
Yeah, I was
He's
kind
like,
of surprised. I'm reading through it and I'm like, really? Okay.
And Toph, you think she's like this unmovable rock, but she's like, nope.
Yeah,
Come
and
here.
then you go through a couple panels about, Toph is convinced that Satoru is right, and that's probably due to the crush. And Aang starts to tell her that he knows what it's like to have a skewed perception of someone due to the attraction towards them.
He
Yeah.
says it
He
can make
says-
you blind.
Yeah.
And
it's,
then-
it's funny because she's blind, even though it's not.
Yeah, and then that's kind of bad.
Yeah, and then she says that his perception could be skewed due to his,
Fuddy-duddy
Sort of-
traditions.
his
Yeah.
love for his cultural rituals.
A stupid backwards holiday.
Yeah.
Aang takes insult to it, and then he yells at her. At that moment, however, the ground rumbles. And Katara and Sokka run over, and then it rumbles again. And then, AJ, do you want to explain what happens next?
Yeah, machine explodes.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the machine exploded.
The automated machine, which is worked by non-benders, explodes, and this old guy he's trapped under a whole bunch of stuff.
Yep.
But they rescue him.
Yeah, Aang and Toph work together as a team to come between their differences to save this old man before he gets murdered to death by crushing plates of metal.
And then, Aang apologizes to Toph for his early words. She forgives him, apologizes as well. And even though they're not trying to have hard feelings and they're not trying to hold on to the past, it's interrupted by
Dun 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 dun.
by
The Rough Rhinos.
Colonel Monkey. Colonel
We
Monkey.
have the return of the Rough Rhinos.
Yeah.
This brutal, fire-bending, not missionary.
Missionary. Yeah, they're definitely missionaries.
What are they? What's the word?
Mercenaries.
That's the one. Yeah.
And Aang immediately assumes a defensive position, like he's ready to fight.
Like, I'm gonna kick you in the face hole.
Right in the front teeth. And the colonel enlightens him that they were hired by the owners of the refinery for their personal security guards. So basically, they've got a bunch of thugs being the security. So this is getting more sketchy and sketchy as we get along here. And
This is
also
looking more along the lines of a Sato project.
And this also kind of attests to the whole fact that Satoru probably told a lie and Toph covered up for him.
Yeah.
And
Well,
This
maybe,
is like-
maybe he doesn't know.
this is like an Aaron Brockovich story in the movie, remember?
Yeah, it's
Polluting the water.
Yeah, it's just like that was a true story, so let's not try and
No, we're not discrediting that great story.
Anyway.
Rather, the actress who plays Aaron Brockovich. At that
Julia
moment,
Roberts, you wonderful actress.
At that moment, Loban walks into the factory,
Yes.
demanding
Uncle.
Uncle Loban.
Yes, he's also got that wonderful mustache and glasses.
Yeah. Demanding Satoru explains what happened to the machine, and then Satoru.
Because Toph kicked it in the face hole.
Yeah, when Satoru can't provide a decent explanation, things just turn bad there. Loban turns to his business partner,
Bom 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 bom.
Lao Beifong.
Who is, if you didn't guess by the last name, Toph's oppressive father.
Yeah, and
The last panel we get is a full body shot of Toph and her father just being like, "Daddy."
yeah, so
Not like happy daddy, but like
Oh.
no, not daddy.
This is the first time he's probably seen her since the results.
Since they trapped, or no, I guess since the day they left, right?
Yeah, the day they left, and that AJ, are you all right there?
Good.
You good? AJ's having.
Pardon, I'm good.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it for the Riff Part 1. Now let's talk about rankings here. AJ, where do you rank it on terms of your comics?
Like, are we going? I don't want to speculate, like, because it's not the full comic, but in terms of part one,
This issue.
In terms of part ones, I'd say it's my second favorite behind the search.
Yeah, I'd say it's my second favorite behind the search. The art is fantastic. The story is a good introduction. It's a good setting, and Gene always has this kind of like he always leaves it on a cliffhanger, which is fantastic.
Naturally, as it is with comics.
Yeah, and it's good because it's just
What will happen next time? Coming in July, Toph faces off against her own past in The Rift, Part 2.
Tegan, this is your first comic?
Yeah.
Okay. How do you like it? You're not a huge comic book reader, are you?
Well, I've read like Scott Pilgrim and
right,
stuff,
true.
Alan Moore.
Yeah. So how do you feel this stacks up against some more of your other traditional comics that you see?
I liked it, actually. I liked the cliffhanger. I really liked the story. The animation was good. It was top notch. I enjoyed it. I read it all in one big chunk. And
we'll get you back to read the others.
With this 75-page comic
book.
Yeah, it's honestly I can't reiterate how fantastic this comic is for the price and all of them.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
As somebody, and I understand, we're university students, we don't have a lot of money. If there's one thing I'm going to invest in terms of like a book or something, it's these, because they're so cheap, and I'll be able to put them on a shelf, collect them all, it'll look sweet, because I'm all for that physical copy of stuff. So that's going to be cool. In terms of a rank of 10, I'd give it a solid 9. It's a good introduction, solid animation, good storytelling, like always, and I can't give it a 10 because nothing's perfect, and it's only the first one. I can maybe give the series.
Except for me,
because
I am perfect.
AJ's perfect.
In every single way possible.
Tegan just gave the death stare. What do you rank it out of 10? 10 which one had the mustache? The mustache mans.
Oh yeah.
10 out of 10 mustache mans. What do you give it?
I think like 8.5, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
AJ?
Out of 10 oppas, I give it 8 oppas and 1 Momo.
So, AJ, this is the actual real pressing question.
This is the question to end all questions.
Okay.
The answer to which is 42,
yes.
But we'll get to that later.
Yeah. So, people are kind of skeptical about buying the comics. Maybe they've never read them before, or maybe they've read a couple others, but they don't know if they should invest in the Rift. Deal or no deal? Deal or no deal?
Dang, that's a hard one. I'd have to go with deal.
Yeah.
But personally, I read your copy that you got. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna wait until the 3 parts come out and get to the library version. I'm gonna get that.
So like they're all in one edition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I got with the Promise and the Search.
That's what I like what they did with the Walking Dead comics, because there's so many of them. When they give them in the big issues, like 10 in one, that's a fantastic way to do it.
And it's still a really good price. It's only like $30.
Yeah, and essentially you're paying $1 less per comic to get them all together, and probably a hardcover copy. And that'll look great on a shelf too. So yeah, Amazon, Dark Horse. You just type in the Rift Part 1 on Google, and you can probably buy it and find it.
Yeah, even if you type in to get a free copy, the first page is all.
You know what would be fantastic if eventually they put the Search, the Promise, and the Rift all into one big mega copy. That'd be cool.
Big book.
Because I had that with the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe series, like the Chronicles of Narnia. Like I had all 7 books in one.
Yeah,
it'll
be harder to do with comic book.
Yeah, that'd be a meaty book. But same with that Lion, the Witch, I could barely hold it.
So let's go through some of the things that we think are going to be recurring throughout the next series. Just saying things that aren't completely explained. The first being, I think, probably Yangchen will return again. Just give more vague things.
Yeah. And then I think ultimately in the third is when we might see Yangchen, like the actual info behind that. Because this is great, because she's one of the most unknown about avatars.
Yeah, we know that she can use wind to blow trees.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What else?
The statue, I'm interested to see how that plays into it.
Yeah.
I think that looking at the giant glowy purple monster thing, that it might be the statue. Kind of. Maybe.
Yeah. I think I want to see more of this reoccurring theme of the kind of political and moral backgrounds to the land. I know that's quite, deep compared to kind of some of the simplicity of the series as a whole. But I want to see kind of that more moral question and political question behind the land and the pollution and the refineries and how that works, because that ultimately plays into what we see in Legend of Korra, and I want to see Toph in a little bit of a lighter mood. You know, I sympathize with Toph a lot, and I think she's a cool character. She's not my favorite, but I think she's a great character. But she was just kind of annoying to read. It was just like every single page was like, Toph, you're going again. But then Aang was kind of annoying too, because like they're both very stubborn in their ideology.
Yeah, they are,
and they're both unwilling to compromise, and they seem to do at the end, but now there's a bigger problem at hand. So, Tegan, do you want to see anything?
Yeah, well, I definitely think we're going to find out who the statue is, and I think it's probably going to be someone that makes Aang question just blindly following what he was taught as a child.
That's probably right.
Yeah, that's definitely what I think.
Another thing that wasn't completely explained to look forward to is the two waterbenders that Katara knows.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure they're going to have something to do with it.
Yep.
We're going to have to, if the refinery isn't the reason for the stupid dirty water, then we're going to find out that's going to be another big part. The rough rhinos are going to play into it at some point. They're probably going to turn on the refinery and
try to pillage it for what it's worth.
We can look forward to seeing the Toph and dumbass relationship
with her dad,
with
the dude.
Yeah.
Satoru. Yeah, Satoru.
Her dad, that is going to cause some commotion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to see what Uncle...
Do you think it's possible that Satoru will be her husband in the end?
That's my crazy theory was going to be, do you think that Satoru could end up being Lynn's dad?
Yeah, I think it's very possible. I think it is. I think and it's cool because I could see this whole thing, like she doesn't really get along with her dad as much because Satoru seems not that serious of a person. He seems kind of laid back and stuff. Maybe we haven't seen enough of him, but like Toph is such like a hard-nosed person. It would be weird, but I could see it working.
Well, yeah, and he was the first person who kind of saw her as like a thing rather than just like behind the avatar.
We have never seen Toph in like this lovey-dovey thing, other than like in the episode of The Tales of Bossing Say.
Do we know if Ling has any siblings? I can assume not.
I'm pretty sure she's the only child.
Yeah, that would be cool though, but that probably won't happen.
Maybe Toph died in childbirth.
We're running low on time here. That could also be why Lynn's such a hard-nosed character, because she's trying to be her mother.
Yeah.
We're running a little bit low on time. I just want to mention some serious continuity for those who've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender. When Sokka is complaining about not being given a chance to buy a manly bag before leaving for the festival, Toph tells him that they'll find him one that matches his manly belt, as a nod to the blind bandit when he took her Earth Rumble Championship belt and coincidentally matched a bag that he bought earlier. So that was kind of like
there's lots of throwbacks to the original series.
Yeah, and there's one goof apparently. A word's spelled wrong, but I'm not going to go over that because it's not really that important.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens all the time. It's great. The people who have read it really love it, and it seems that the reviews are quite positive, like all the other comics. So make sure you go out and buy it. Any further comments, you guys, before we wrap it up?
Just want to say, in the preview picture, Sokka is holding a pickaxe.
Yes, he is.
So that's
a thing.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Be prepared for Sokka holding a pickaxe.
Minor Sokka.
Well, a mine collapses on top of him.
That would be hilarious, but we know that can't be true because we see him later on in Republic City. Damn it, I want Sokka to die. Not actually. Tanya, do you have anything?
No, it was good.
Okay, good.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
So, we're going to leave you with a little bit of an interlude of music from, let me see who we have this week. Michael McEachin, or something like that.
You're going to see Mike Lombardo.
No, Lombardo. McEachin.
For those of you who don't know, just Google Mike Lombardo. It's a good tale.
So, yeah, we got some music from Michael here, and then I'll come back after the break and tell you how you can contact us.
Can't get my mind away from thoughts of you. 2 weeks ago today, you were just the girl I drew. And now I think it's time that we decide, lovers or friends, and we would be fools not to follow what our hearts suggest. So think it over and let me know, girl, 'cause you and I would be easier as us. Don't need
everybody. I hope you enjoyed that music break.
I know I did.
Oh yeah, AJ did.
It
So
was beautiful. It made my ears just like, I'm having wonderful, wonderful thoughts of music going through my head.
I'm sure you are. So if you want to contact us in any way or find out more about Castbender Podcast, you can go to castbender.ca. That's not .com, that's .ca.
If you go to .com, you'll get a picture of a zebra.
Yeah.
And it's not fun. Don't go there.
So you can find every other episode of Castbender on the website. You can stream it and download it and all that fun stuff. View it on YouTube. So you can go to the blog tab, and that's Avatar Legend of Korra Online.com, and that's where all the blog is. .com. And if you want to know more about the hosts, us, FAQ for if you're not sure how to do anything, there's that. Contact and schedule if you want to see the schedule of what we run from vlogs and stuff.
We will, remember, be deviating from the schedule if anything happens in Upfront.
Yeah, Upfront, you might get a podcast on Friday if Upfront deems to be successful. So you can go to iTunes and type in Castbender Podcast, Castbender, or just Korra, and then go to the podcast tab. You guys can subscribe there so you get it to your iTunes and to your phones or devices. And please give us a rating and a comment. That would be greatly appreciated. You can listen to Stitcher Radio for a podcast, the #1 mobile application for listening to podcasts and radio online.
Much better than that podcast app that Apple provides.
Yeah. Twitter.com/Castbender, YouTube.com/Castbender Podcast for all our vlogs, and this is where you're probably listening to it. Some of you, you can go to Facebook.com/Castbender.
Remember to hit like, comment, and subscribe, and whatnot, and do that jazz.
Tumblr, if you want to go to Tumblr, you can do castbender.tumblr.com. And that pretty much is it. Go over to our sponsors, comicrelated.com and Avatar Legend of Korra Online.com for all that comic and other Avatar-related news.
And buy the Rift.
And buy the Rift, everybody. It's a great way to support everything going on in the community, and it's a good damn comic.
Yes, and send us questions for Gene.
Yeah,
too.
I've got some. So if you guys have more questions for Gene, we're gonna accumulate them all, and then in June we're gonna pick the best ones, and we're gonna ask him probably around 5 questions.
And don't be like, what's going to happen in the Rift part? Don't ask that.
Yeah, just a little bit of sense, because a lot of people seem to be asking questions that I want to ask, and it would be great to have the answer, but I don't know if Gene will probably answer them. So just
we
try to
we
think
don't
of
want to
some good
waste questions and time.
ones. Because we don't know. He could be like, you only have 20 minutes.
I can't tell you this because, stupid reasons.
Yeah, so
Anyway, goodbye.
Thanks everybody for listening to Castbender Podcast for March the 10th, 2014. Have a great day.
Here I am. I know I'm not as you planned, because I'm no knight and I'm no prince, but I am convinced that I can sweep you off your feet with a simple melody. But I'm singing to your balcony. Won't you open up the doors? Won't you open up the doors? Yeah, yeah. I just wanna see what's inside your heart, inside your mind. What makes you laugh, what makes you cry? Oh.